Welcome to More Patience, More Impact, More Income, the podcast for real holistic medical practitioners who want to grow their high-impact, high-income practice without selling out. And now, here's your host, Chris Axelrad.
You're listening to More Patience, More Impact, More Income. Today, we have something a little different for you, and it's just too good to limit to one episode. Here's Chris with part one of the series.
So welcome to this fifth day of Axelrad, what we're calling Effortless Retention and Eternal Referrals. This is where I think a lot of people kind of get tripped up. Sometimes, getting the patients in the door can be tough, right? Some people really struggle with that, and they're actually really good at this part naturally, right? It's like I've talked to a lot of people who are like, hey, if I can get them in the door, then I'm good. Right. But the issue is a lot of people are not good at this part. So what happens is they really do have decent new patient traffic coming in. But what happens is they just can't keep people engaged in their process. Now, here's the thing. Where we are at this point is what? We have built our entire ecosystem, our entire marketing ecosystem around the fact that we are talking to people who have problems, right? So we are really positioning ourselves to be problem solvers, right? Right. Good. And so that's an important thing, because then what happens is when they see our message that I taught you guys how to create, then, they get really pumped up. They're excited. They can't wait to come and see us. So we have these people, they're fired up to connect with us. They're happy because we tell them and we're very clear with them how we're going to help them. They say yes to working with us very naturally, without us having to sell, without us having to pressure them or any of that stuff. And it looks like Neil just popped in here. Good to meet you, man. I don't think I've ever seen you on any of my stuff. So welcome. So they say yes, and then what? They're happy to pay us, right? Like they're happy to pay us because we have, from the very beginning, our marketing really emphasizes the value of what we do specifically for them, right? Our marketing isn't all about acupuncture's cool, acupuncture works, naturopathic medicine's cool, this is cool, whatever, blah, 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 you should believe it. No, our marketing is centered around their problems. And so the people who come through this, man, they're like super pumped, all right? But this is only the beginning. It's only the beginning of what ideally is a lifelong relationship. Lifelong. And, the reason I know this is because I've been in practice since 2004. And when I first started out, I didn't really have a lot of this stuff figured out. But around 2006, 2007 is when I really started to get some of this stuff figured out. And I still have patients that I met back then, that I started working with back then, who still keep in touch with me. I may not see them that often in clinic, but I'll get emails from them every once in a while. We're friends on Facebook. They still refer, like 10 years later, they're still referring. And that's why I call this eternal referrals, because when you create this kind of relationship with someone, which again really starts when they agree to become your patient, that's the start of that relationship. And when you really nurture that relationship the right way, you've got a lifelong fan, a lifelong follower. That's why I hammer on the fact that what we do goes way beyond transactional. This is not this commoditized thing like, hey, let's go ahead and, just think of what we do as like we're selling something. It's a commodity. No, it's not. You're building a relationship with somebody, okay? The money is a necessary part because we need to actually pay our bills. if we're going to do this full time, if we're going to be full-time healers, then we have to take money. We must accept money in exchange for what we do. Unless you're independently wealthy, then of course, if you want to give it away, by all means, give it away. That's fine if you can do that. I can't do that. I'm not independently wealthy. If I'm going to devote as much time and energy to building a really solid practice where I can really help people, then money is going to have to be the medium that's exchanged for the value that I'm providing. But that doesn't mean that it's this transactional thing. It's a relational thing, okay? It's a relational thing. Don't ever forget that. And our work, if we're doing it as intended, is transformational. It truly is. We literally change we change the molecular composition of a person's body with the work that we do. Not just the actual techniques and tools and the herbs and the other things that we use, the nutrition, but also from a spiritual, emotional, mental standpoint. If we're doing this work the right way, we have a shamanic kind of presence. We don't have to dress up like a shaman. We don't have to say the word shaman. We don't have to even mention it all or even act like a quote unquote shaman or what we think a shaman is supposed to act like. Actually, true shamans are just they're just hanging out. They're just being themselves, and they just play that role in their world, but they just are like normal people in their community. That's just the role they play as the healer and the guide for people who are lost. We're going to get to that in a minute. So the point is, our work is not transactional, it is transformational. So it's important to see things that way. Your perspective on yourself and what you do is what's going to change the results that you see. Okay. And the reason it's transformational is because our work is about all the things. It's about the entire picture. It's about what? Mind, body, spirit, the way they live, what they eat, how they deal with their life challenges, the types of things that they put in their body, the types of things they decide not to put in their body, the way that they care for themselves. All of that, that's all medicine. Okay? It's all medicine. Or at least that's what it should be, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people in our field really diminish themselves by seeing themselves as these technicians, as these really fancy technicians, and I should just be able to feel someone's pulse and then give them an herbal formula and never talk to them. I think it's really sad. I honestly think that is, it's like allopathic medicine translated onto our medicine. And our medicine is really about all of the different aspects and really understanding that there are emotional factors involved. There are lifestyle factors involved. It's not just, an illness to be fixed. It's not just an imbalance to be balanced. It's a being to be guided. It's someone who, the reason they're not well is because of something they're doing or not doing. That doesn't mean that it's their fault, because they don't understand the consequences of what they're doing. They don't understand how some small habit that they have that to them seems inconsequential is actually creating their illness. They don't understand that. If they understood it, they wouldn't be in our office. So a big part of our job is to, as holistic practitioners, is to think holistically about our patients. Okay? And that's how we get them the result that they want. Now, here's what we're going to learn today. All right. So I'm going to tell you the singular most important thing that you can do to generate insane retention and massive referrals. And you don't even have to ask for it. You don't even have to like you guys saw on the last lesson I talk about, I don't like to charge big package money because to me, that's kind of a fake way to do retention. You're putting the retention is because they've given you a bunch of money in advance. This is a way to do the retention where it's because they actually want to keep coming back, which to me, I like that because it proves to me that my process is correct and my process has the right kind of integrity in terms of what I want to live by. And also you'll get referrals and they don't even ask you for the referrals. Like literally, I mean, you don't have to ask them for the referrals. We don't ever ask people, hey, can you send some patients to us? No, that's not even part of our process. Okay. So I call this gravitational pull because it's a very real, very powerful, and effortless quality that turns you into a primary positive and transformational influence in your patients' lives. Okay. When that happens, that's viral. That spreads throughout your entire community. You know, the word gets out. It's like I always say, if someone's wandering in the desert and they finally find an oasis in the desert, okay, and it's the real thing and it's real water, they're going to tell everybody they can. They're going to go out there and they're going to be like, yo, the water's over here. Here's where the water is. And let me tell you, in terms of our industry and in terms of the medical industry in general, the practitioners who are really tuned in, who cultivate themselves and cultivate their own spirit, and who are really genuine, sadly, I think are the exception. So when someone finds someone like that, when they find us, it's like game over. They're just they can't believe it. And they're really happy, okay? Something your patient desperately wants, I'm going to teach you about this. They desperately want this from you, but they're never going to ask you for it. Most of the time because they're not even really aware that they want it. But even if they are aware that they want it, they're not going to ask you for it. They don't expect to have to ask for this. And you must give them this once they said yes to working with you, or you risk losing their trust and confidence forever. Literally. Okay. And I don't want to this isn't me saying, that you should be scared or anything like that. I mean, it's just, and I'm not trying to scare you. It's just true. I mean, you have a certain amount of time to make your imprint on somebody. And if you don't make that imprint, you're not going to get that chance. It's very rare that you're going to get that chance back. I had someone in my program one time in War Room who, got on one of the group calls and they asked me so what do I do? I have patients and they cancel. They come in for 2 or 3 visits, they cancel. And then, I try to reach out and they don't really get back to me. So is there something I can do to fix that? Am I just saying the wrong thing? Do I need to call? Do I need to email? What? I'm like, no, you fix that on the front end. You fix that to where they don't do that to begin with. Because once they've done that, you're not gonna get them back. They've already decided they don't want to work with you. And that's okay. That's okay, because there's a lot more people out there. And so the good news is, again, when you set up the marketing the way that I teach, you don't have to worry that you're going to have more patients. It's not like you got, oh my God, this one patient and now I've lost them and I'm doomed. No, you're going to have more patients coming in so you can fix this. You can the next time do it the way I'm about to teach you, right? I'm also going to go over one ridiculously simple language shift that can virtually double your patient numbers overnight, and I'm not kidding. And after I actually put this together, I realized now it's also an internal language shift as much as it is an external language shift. It's really a shift in the narrative about yourself and to see yourself in a different light than what we're taught. Okay, so here's my schedule. So this is June of this year. June is summer, right? It's supposed to be slow. It's supposed to be, oh my God, everything's falling apart. It's the summer. First of all, I don't make those kind of excuses, and I refuse to let any of my associates make those excuses. If I hear them say, oh, it's summer, I'm like, you better shut your mouth. We don't repeat that. We've deleted that from our internal vocabulary. So this is the first week of June, okay? This is the second week of June. This is the third week of June. And this is the fourth week of June, which actually was the busiest week, okay? So retention, referrals. If we go back to this right here, All the yellow and orange is new patients. Yellow and orange is new patients. Look at that. Every single week. Every single week. Plenty of yellow and plenty of orange. All right. So I'm actually doing this. What I'm teaching you works. I don't bullshit this. And I just teach from what I know. All right. And this is why when a lot of people come into these trainings and I start teaching this stuff and they're like, holy shit, like I've never heard that before. It's like, yeah, you've never heard that before because most of the people who try to teach this stuff actually aren't doing it and they haven't gone as deep into it. And they're probably just repeating something that someone else taught them. So, and again, full disclosure up front, I love helping people grow their practice. And yeah, I'm good at it. I've gotten a lot of results. I'm going to show you a URL here in a second. I don't want you to go because I want you to stick around and watch the training. Okay. But one of the reasons I do these free trainings is because I want you to see, number one, that I'm being truthful, that I'm not, that I'm laying it out here. And number two, that I am able to help you. I truly can. And I would love the opportunity to do it. So you can apply, which is not meaning that you're saying yes. Okay. Applying is just saying, yes, I'm interested. Raise your hand. Yep. I would like to see if I can get your help, Chris. Apply, and then we will contact you and do a free consultation with you, make sure everything sounds good. We'll move forward from there. Spots are limited, and the spring enrollment deadline is December 31st, okay? So if you want a chance to do this anytime in the next few months, then you need to go ahead and apply now, okay? Just letting you know. All right, so let's talk about this. The singular most important thing you can do to generate insane retention and massive referrals with what I call gravitational pull, okay? So if you've done everything right up to this point, as I teach it, okay, and you don't even have to do it like perfectly. You just have to be good enough. Like I remember when I ran my first Google AdWords campaign back in 2006. And some of it was probably luck, but some of it was the fact that I figured some things out, didn't even realize that I'd actually figured these things out till much later when I looked back and I was like, wow, I actually created a little funnel there, didn't I? But that ad, like the way it was set up was all fucking wrong. It really was, like according to all the quote unquote gurus and what they teach. But that ad earned us in excess of $800,000, $900,000. That one ad over a period of probably 5 or 6 years. Okay. So you just have to do this stuff good enough. Doesn't have to be perfect. But if you've done everything up to this point good enough, you have a person who has said yes. Okay. And they really, really, truly want your help. This is not a person who's just like checking out, see what acupuncture's like, see what naturopathic medicine's like, whatever, just kind of, as a novelty or whatever. This is someone who is really looking for help. And the opportunity here, like I said, to create this very strong bond and have a lifelong relationship is huge. Okay. So let me ask you a question. What if you got on an airplane, all right? And you know how sometimes the pilot will be standing there and you got on an airplane and the pilot just looked worried. The pilot looked nervous and they were sweating and they were, whatever. Well, how would that make you feel? Right? How would that make you feel? I mean, it's like, shit, man, should I get off this plane or what? Like, I'm not sure about this shit. This guy doesn't look like, or this lady doesn't look like she really knows what's going on, Well, I got news for you. Here's how most practitioners roll. And it's a weird fucking vibe. They're smiling on the outside. They're trying to be all cool on the outside, but on the inside, they're nervous. They're nervous as fuck, man. Like, there's so much fear in the practitioner. Like, what are they going to do? What are they going to think? Are they going to come back? Am I going to get results? Like when they come back for their first follow-up or their second follow-up, like, it's like, okay, so how are you feeling? I don't know, not much has changed. And then it's like the practitioner just like inside, the anxiety just goes through the roof, right? And it's a weird vibe, man. It's weird. And guess what? People pick up on that shit. Like I always say, we all have our own built-in bullshit meter. And, some people's bullshit meter, obviously, when you look at, a lot of different situations, because there are people who are scam artists out here in all kinds of industries, right? And in politics and everything else. And people buy into their scam, right? So there are people who have a bullshit meter. But, there are people whose bullshit meter is turned down to like the lowest possible setting, all right? And there are people who love to take advantage of those people. The type of marketing and process that I teach, we're not doing that. In fact, it's so clear and it's so truthful, it's so real that we only attract the people who are really actually serious. So the bullshit meter is usually pretty turned up on these people. And they pick up on when even though if you're trying to play it straight and you have a straight face, you're freaking out. They pick up on it, okay? And it's repelling. It is repelling. It's funny because like in my practice, we have 3 offices, okay? And so obviously I don't go to all 3 of those offices. I have 3 other people that work with me. We kind of rotate around, whatever. And I can look at people's shifts. Literally, I can look at their shifts and I can look at, watch. And if their numbers start to drop, right? And their schedule starts to thin out, then I know it's like, well, gotta have a pep talk. And so I'll go to the person and I'll give them a pep talk. I'll be like, hey, are you feeling a little like worried? Are you losing confidence? And then I'll just remind them of these things I'm about to tell you. And literally then I'll watch over the next 2 or 3 weeks and their schedule starts to fill back up.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.